It's recording. You're good. We are on page 14. 15. The new knight's first adventures. Why is he called a new knight? Jacob?
Because he just became a knight.
He just got knighted by the innkeeper. Very good. It was daybreak when Don Quixote rode away from the inn, proud of being a now full-fledged knight. Reflecting, however, on the fact that he still lacked a squire, a necessary assistant to a knight, and remembering that he had a man at home, a very honest and simple fellow, whom he could probably enlist in this service, he turned his horse's head in the direction of his native village. So he's turning back around to go back home and get his squire. What's a squire? Manny? Like his apprentice, like his servant, basically, his assistant. He had not gone very far when he was startled by loud cries of distress from a forest a little distance away. Riding at once in that direction, he came upon a strange scene. He saw a stout lad of about 15 tied to a tree, stripped to his waist. A burly farmer was thrashing him, or like whipping him, unmercifully with a strap. Don Quixote commandingly called on the man to stop or face instant death, and the farmer, daunted by this sudden sight, did so at once. In apologetic tones, he explained that the boy was a habitually idle servant of his, or a very lazy servant. Who, instead of looking after the sheep that was entrusted to him, he was constantly losing one or more of them, and therefore he was getting his correction. The youth, however, said his master was looking for an excuse to cheat him of the wages he was due. Don Quixote, without hearing more, sided with the boy and commanded his master to release him at once and pay what he owed him, which appeared to be 63 reals for 9 months of service. The man obeyed without a word, untied the youth, and promised to pay him what he was due, and even more if he would come home with him, since he did not have the money with him. The boy protested that if his master got him in his clutches again, he would flay him like St. Bartholomew, meaning whip him to death, basically. To answer this, Don Quixote decided that the farmer should swear by the order of chivalry to pay the boy honestly and let him go free without further harm. The farmer was willing to swear this oath, or any other, to get rid of the knight, and so the matter was decided. In spite of the youth's loud objections that the farmer would certainly not keep his promise, Don Quixote could not imagine such wickedness, but warned the farmer that he was dealing with the Knight of La Mancha, the righter of wrongs, who would return and punish him harshly if he failed in any detail of his promise. Satisfied with that, he put his spurs to Rocinante and rode rapidly away. All right, let me explain this. This is the first thing that happened. First thing he comes across is he hears this scream from the woods. He's like, what in the world? He goes over and he sees an elder man whipping a younger boy, like a 15-year-old boy. Okay? And of course, to Don Quixote, he's going to save anyone in need, right? He's a knight. He has to do it. He's a knight errant. He's wandering around looking for adventures. So he intervenes and says, whoa, stop what you're doing. This is not fair. You can't whip this man. And the owner says, first of all, he's like, okay, who are you? Second of all, oh, no, it's okay. He lost some of my sheep. I hired him to watch my sheep, and he's lost some of them. So I'm giving him the correction that he needs. I'm disciplining him. And the boy says, no. He is just looking for any excuse to whip me. This guy is evil, and he is trying to just beat me up. Okay? And Don Quixote says, what's the deal? Well, the deal is the master owed him a certain amount of money. Owed the 15-year-old, his servant. Okay? But he hadn't paid it yet because in his mind, the boy had lost his sheep. So he hadn't earned his paycheck, basically. And the boy's like, no. I didn't lose those sheep. You owe me money. He's like, no. You lost the sheep, so I can't pay you anything. He's looking for any reason not to pay the boy. Okay? He's cheating him of the wages he's supposed to earn. So Don Quixote says, you know what? You need to go home and pay this guy. And so the guy says, okay, well, you're going to have to let us go home because, I don't have his paycheck on me. I don't have any money on me right now. So if you let us go home, then he'll give him the money he was due. What do you think the guy's going to do when he gets home? Caleb? Whip him. Okay? So the boy is protesting. He's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Sir, if you let us leave, he is not going to hold up his end of the bargain. He's lying to you. He's not going to do that. Okay? When really it says here, the man would make any, he's like, I'll promise anything to get rid of this knight. Like, I'll say whatever I got to say to get him out of the way. And Don Quixote says, okay, well, to make sure that he follows through on his promise, I'm going to make him swear by the order of chivalry. Okay, great. So the guy says, yeah, sure, I swear. I swear by the order of chivalry. I'll go home and give him his money. And Don Quixote says, I can't imagine anyone not fulfilling that promise. So I've handled this situation. And he leaves. Is the man going to go home and pay the guy what he's due? No. The farmer watched the knight until he was out of sight. And when he saw the coast was clear, he turned to the lad and said, come here, my son, and I'll pay you what I owe you, as the good gentleman commanded me. With that, he grabbed the boy, tied him to the tree again, and whipped him within an inch of his life. Now, he said, you can call on your knight and see if he can wipe that out. I have a good mind to skin you alive, just as you said I would. However, he let the youngster go and urged him to seek justice from his champion. The boy vowed he would, but apparently he never succeeded. Okay, so this is an example of Don Quixote's intentions are good, but the consequences are bad. What he means to do is help the boy escape from whipping, which is a good thing, but in the end, he makes his whipping even worse. Okay? Meanwhile, the knight, having covered miles of road on his way home, saw a company of men coming towards him. They were 6 silk merchants, riding to Murcia, with 4 mounted servants and 3 mule drivers on foot. Don Quixote instantly identified them as knights with their squires and servants. So what were they really? Jacob?
Traders?
Silk merchants. Okay, the book says. What does Don Quixote see them as? Jacob? With their servants and squires. Very good. Pleased with the good work he had just done with the farmer, he decided to make this an occasion for proving his new knighthood. So he planted himself in the middle of the road with his lance raised and his shield in position, just as he had read in the books of chivalry. He was standing there like this, like ready to encounter these new knights. When the party came within hail, he called out in a defiant tone, "Halt, every one of you, until each of you swears there is not in the whole world a more beautiful lady than the Empress of La Mancha, Dulcinea del Toboso." Did you see it, Caleb? She told you? Okay. The merchant stopped, wondering what sort of escaped lunatic this figure might be. To humor him, however, one of them stepped forward and said, Sir Knight, none of us are acquainted with this lady you mention, but if you show her to us, no doubt we shall be able to agree with you. And what would be the use of that? Argued Don Quixote. That would be nothing but admitting the obvious. The important point is that, without seeing her, you affirm it and mean it. If you refuse, well then I challenge you to combat, all haughty and overbearing as you are. You can come at me at one at a time, as the rules of chivalry direct. Or you can come all at once, as is the custom with those of your low breeding. I am ready and waiting, confident in the justice of my cause. So you can imagine the merchants kind of laughing like, But sir, pleaded the merchant, I beg you, in the name of all the princes here, that you not burden our consciences by forcing us to confess something we have no knowledge of, and which so much insults the lovely queens of Alcaria and Estremadura. Show us at least some picture, however small, of this lady, so that we may have some excuse for doing as you wish. Indeed, I say for all of us that we are so anxious to oblige you that we would declare her all you say she is, even if this portrait showed her to be squinty-eyed and humpbacked. Okay, so Don Quixote, for really no reason, he has stopped these quote-unquote knights, and he demands that they declare his girlfriend, Dulcinea del Toboso, his lady, is the most beautiful lady in all the land. Okay? And these knights are kind of like, yo, we don't know no Dulcinea del Toboso, so show us a picture, and then we'll tell you she's the most beautiful in all the world. Yes.
It seems like every time people play along with this thing,
Sometimes.
it's gonna be, like, it ends badly for them.
At these suggestions, Don Quixote boiled with rage. She is neither squinty-eyed nor humpbacked, you dogs! You will pay for the outrageous blasphemy you have uttered against a beauty so rare as that of my lady. Saying this, he leveled his lance and charged the spokesman of the group, for whom things might have gone badly, except that, Rocinante stumbled and rolled with his master over and over on the ground. So what was supposed to be a charge, and the horse charges forward and takes they go into battle, they're dueling off, the horse trips and falls and rolls. Yes, exactly. Don Quixote, who was weighed down with his ancient armor and hindered by his weapon and spurs, was unable to get up in spite of all his efforts. He kept calling to the merchants not to leave like cowards, but to wait until he could get back on his horse. So while he's tumbling on the ground, wait, don't leave! I'm coming! Wait, don't leave, you cowards! And he's still stumbling, trying to get up. The merchants paid no attention to his ravings and went on their way. But one of the mule drivers, a violent, bad-tempered fellow, resented the knight's insults, and, first smashing the lance into pieces, proceeded to beat him with a stave of it in a most brutal fashion. So, one of the men that he had just been insulting, one of the merchants, who he thought was a knight, was so insulted and mad at what he had been saying, he came back and beat Don Quixote with his own weapon. At length, the fellow gave in to the repeated calls of the merchants to come along, and left the poor fallen gentleman half dead on the road, less able to get up than ever. There poor Don Quixote lay, bruised and almost unconscious, comforting himself with thoughts about similar misfortunes that happened to other knights, and reciting in a feeble voice what he could remember of their poetic words as they lay wounded and abandoned on the field of battle. As he was going on in this way, a countryman who happened to be from the same village came along, who, seeing a fellow creature in such obvious suffering, began to help him as much as he could. He soon discovered that the battered man was no other than his neighbor, Don Quixote. With some difficulty he lifted him onto his mule and led the animal and Rocinante by the bridles toward the village, much concerned with the knight's rambling talk and the difficulty of keeping him from falling on the road again. All right, so thankfully his nice neighbor comes by and picks him up to get him home. We're going to stop there for sake of time, but on Monday we'll pick up with page 23. And we'll probably have to do 2 and 3 on Monday.